G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be covering everything that happened in FNCS Day 2 today, and man, was it a big one. Somehow, Epic doing an even worse job of running this EU FNCS final than the last one. And remember, last FNCS finals, players were accidentally banned mid-tournament, and games had to be voided and reran the next day. Well, today, the exact same thing happened, but players didn't know the games were voided, didn't play the last game, and lost out on tens of thousands of dollars. It was absolutely ridiculous, overshadowing, unfortunately, Antics' performance, which was, in my opinion, the best performance we've ever seen in a team game mode finals. They were so insanely dominant. Also, over on OCE, we had a bunch of drama breakdown last night with the first place team being fed a kill from an ex-trio mate that ended up winning them the FNCS. This team has now been accused of teaming. I want to clear all that up because there's so much more to the story. I've got to talk about NA East. We had Mero, Bugha, and Muz win it all. NA West, we had Reet, Fabs, and Snacky finally beat out Arkram, Epikwhale, and Rex. There's a lot to talk about. We're gonna have to jump straight into it. It is an absolute stacker of a video. Before we get into talking about NA East and NA West, which were just so fantastic, honestly, two of the best FNCS finals I have ever watched, we have to talk about whatever it is that happened on EU today. And it's going to be a little bit negative. I promise you the whole video isn't, but this needs to be said. If you guys didn't see it, EU was somehow as bad, if not worse, than last season's EU finals. And you might be thinking, Aussie, how? Last FNCS, we had two players wrongfully banned because of a mass report bug in the system, which caused two games to be voided and had to be played the next day. Like, how can it get worse than that? Well, it's because the exact same mass report bug was abused again by the same person in the community on Tripper, yet again getting banned for no reason. But not only did they have to void two games like last time, they voided the first one because Tripper got banned. Then in the second game, Tripper gets kicked. They had to void that game again, but instead of canceling these games or canceling the game that was mid-running, they let it go all the way through. All they did was make a tweet saying the game was to be voided, which obviously not every pro saw because they're not checking Twitter. They're playing an FNCS grand final for hundreds of thousands of dollars. They didn't see that it was happening. They played the game out, and even pros like Stompy's team missing out on the last game tens of thousands of dollars because they didn't realize the last game wasn't the last game. They went to the bathroom thinking, hey, that's 12 games. You know, we did great. Let's come back. And all of a sudden there's a game going. They freak out, check Twitter, and wait, what's going on? This game didn't count. Like, just Epic. You need to do better than this. I know you know this. I know you've been told this because there's a lot of people in the community that are freaking out, but the way EU ran today was a joke. It was not good enough. It really did bring the vibes down and made what was already a bit of a rushed FNCS feel that much less important. And then NA East and NA West luckily picked up the vibes, but it also unfortunately took away from what I believe is the most dominant team game mode performance we have ever seen in the history of Fortnite. We had Seti, Kami, and Teak get 420 points, 12 matches played, 2 wins, an average elims of 6.25, and an average placement of 4.83 in the EU Grand Finals. And even the 2 games that got voided, they still play super highly in. Kami, Seti, Teak are on a whole nother level, I believe, right now to pretty much any other team in the world. They are so insanely dominant, and they didn't even get to have their moment properly. Like, people are celebrating, people know they did well, people are happy for them, but the broadcast didn't even show it. Because the games went so late, NA East had to start, the broadcast switched over and started watching NA East and didn't even watch Seti, Kami, and Teak's last game to celebrate their first FNCS win. And not just a win, they won by almost 100 points on second. On EU, like, this was ridiculous. I can't tell you enough. If you want to know how to play the game right now, if you're coming into Grand Royale and you're a pro that's competing, or even just trio cash cups, VOD review Seti, Kami, and Teak's 12 games from this finals. They are literally perfection. This team is just doing things so much better than everybody else right now. The tournament itself still did have some merits. The games that did count still counted, so we do need to focus on that as well. It wasn't just Kami, Seti, and Teak. We had Flow-Is, Hellfire, and Scram getting second on 328. Ridiculous performance from them. They just bit out Fast Strokey, CRR, and Aqua by a single point. Remember, Aqua started this season retiring. We didn't think Aqua was going to play this season at all. Instead, he randomly showed up FNCS Day 1 with Fast Strokey and CRR, dominated, was the most consistent team, or one of the most consistent teams in EU in both qualifying weeks, and then makes it through the last reboot round, game 6, to then get a podium finish for the grand finals, getting 1 point off second. Unfortunately for them, because of the games being restarted and nullified, it did really affect them because their last game was actually really, really good that didn't count. It was a whole big thing. They missed out by 1 point. They played fantastically. They just beat out Floki, Clement, and Deceptos on 308. We had our reigning FNCS champs got a top 5 finish. Kiriachi, Stormy Wright, and Toos. Michael's team in 6th. We had Mustache, Malabuka, and Shizo, despite having that whole spawn fight situation with Benji, getting 7th place, which honestly is incredibly impressive. When this team made it off spawn, they played so well. We had Queasy and Nas Thomas Hasty again, despite being contested caddy. They actually switched their drop spot to Camp Cod and the second half of day 2, and they had such a better performance because of this. Once they started going Camp Cod, they were doing fantastically well. Very, very impressive from them. I like the fact they dropped the ego, switched off the drop spot, and still did well. I mean, they were the favorites to win, so I'm sure they're still going to be upset, but hey, compared to their day 1, they've really brought it back in day 2. We had Rifler's team in 9th. We had Crow's team in 10th, which, if you guys remember, they actually started day 2 in 2nd place. Unfortunately for them, Noah Riley and Mitra were going head-to-head at Believers Beach. Noah Riley's team decided to go their backup drop, their secondary drop, which was the castle split that Crow was dropping at. That didn't end well for them. Crow's team tried to drop on Kami's team, which was their original drop spot. That didn't end well for them. They just got ran around the map and unfortunately dropping from 2nd all the way down into 10th. We had Andalix's team in 12th. We had Sean VP's team in 11th. A lot of huge performances. Like I said, unfortunately, we had Tripper's team in 13th because of all the drama with Tripper getting banned, getting kicked. It really did throw their tournament into a loop, I feel like. We had Pink, Nebs, and Stompy, who, like I said, only played 11 games, not getting their last game in. That getting them 14th place. If you take their average points of 17.9, you give them those extra 18 points, that would have secured them top 10, which would have got them an extra $15,000. This team lost $15,000 because they went to the bathroom, potentially even more because in their last 2 games, they got 2 second places. So their momentum was high. They were popping off and then it went straight down the toilet. And I mean, pun intended, I guess. I feel so bad for this team. I'm not going to run the whole leaderboard. We had Tayson bringing it back on day 2 as well. They started to have a good performance. They came 16th, which obviously is not fantastic for Tayson. And honestly, I really respect Tayson's response to this. He came out, didn't make any excuses. He said, we go next, didn't prepare good, and played. No excuses. Not saying that the servers, not blaming Epic, not saying Surge, just we didn't play well, we didn't deserve it, but we go again. And that's what I love about Taste, and I'm sure he's going to bring it back next FNCS. I know despite the hope of a lot of you guys, we didn't see the huge Noah Riley comeback. They started keying people halfway through day 2. Like I said, they switched up their drop spot. They went full aggro, and it almost worked for them. They got big games in there. One of their games, they got a 17 elim 6th, but it wasn't enough to bring back after a rough day 1. Similar story for Injetta, Benji, and Savage. They had a few rays of hope. They had a few good games, but unfortunately, they weren't able to bring it back either. Same goes for Mitro. Same goes for Snazy. It's just, it was a rough day and a rough weekend for a lot of our favorite teams, but I want to make sure that focus stays on Kami, Seti, and Teak. 420 points on EU. Remember, last FNCS being won by Kiriachi's team was 295. They got over 130 points almost on the last FNCS win. Ridiculous. If you thought EU was weird, don't worry. OCE always here to make things even crazier. We had potentially a kill feeding situation on OCE that you guys might have heard about, and I want to give the full situation and what happened. So we had OCE being won by Spiker's team. It was won by Spiker, Fab, and Chemo. They got first by 3 points. They beat out Vortex, Jace, and Suns by 3 points. The reason why this got so crazy is in the very last game, we had Spiker being potentially fed a kill by his old teammate. Now, I'll show you the clip and the reaction of Coach Timmy, who was doing a viewing party and casting the game, so you know what it looks like from someone's perspective who was watching it.
100 meter builds on the ground. Someone's just crouching in front of him. Is that Neo? What the? That's Fab's old teammate. That's Neo.
Now, before you guys start witch hunting, before you guys start freaking out, I know that looks suspicious. There's really no other way around it. That was very clearly a deliberate attempt from Spiker's ex-trio mate to give him the kill. Those 2 points for the elim and the extra placement they got because the material and the health is what won them the FNCS. But before you freak out, let me show you a clip from Chemo's stream, who is Spiker's teammate, who is streaming the entire event, because you very clearly hear Spiker confused about what's going on. This was not organized from Spiker's team. Let me play it for you.
Stay back, sorry. Nice! You finished? Yeah, Mats, yeah, Mats. 5 kills. Go back, TK, my build. Go to back.
Being jump on the FNCS champion, bro.
Nice
Oh my
build.
god. I got this sentry. What the hell?
Nice!
What the hell is that guy doing? I got max mats.
Can you come to me? I'm shooting, bro.
You can very clearly hear Spiker say, what is happening? This guy just fed me a kill. Like, he clearly has no idea. And this is endgame in an FNCS. This isn't like a Ronaldo Ziff moment in World Cup where it's happening on spawn. You know you're in the same game and you drop on them. It is almost impossible to coordinate this endgame. So what a lot of people imagine is happening here is the fact that Spiker's ex-trio mate saw that it was Spiker, knew it was him, whether it was because of the skin or whether because of the stream. However it is, he knew it was him and he wanted to give his ex-teammate a kill. Just really stupid decision. The player themselves made a tweet saying that they didn't do it deliberately. They were just playing their last game stupidly, running around playing like idiots. A lot of people not believing that, but again, you get to make your own decision. But the team that ended up losing, Vortex, ended up making a statement. He said, got robbed of an FNCS win because their ex-teammate feeds them, but he then followed up saying, don't really want them banned, but this kill and placement won them the tourney. Neo should be banned, which is the ex-trio mate of Spiker. So a lot of people upset with Neo for doing this, and rightfully so. Was a very dumb decision, and it did end up having big ramifications for the tournament. Vortex team doesn't win because of this, but I want to make sure this is very clear. Spiker's team had no way of knowing that it was going to be a kill feed. They had no way of knowing this is happening. They can't just not kill the player, because then that's also another form of collusion. So Spiker's team was just stuck between a rock and a hard place. They had to kill the player. That just so happened to win them the FNCS. So I want to make sure that you guys know that no disrespect to Spiker. I don't think they should be banned. I don't think they should be punished at all. It's very similar to how a lot of people get frustrated that particular streamers get quite often fed kills in major tournaments. We've seen it happen to lots of people. We saw it happen to Ninja and Tfue back in the day. We saw it happen to Volks recently. You can't just not kill the player. You have to kill them. But the punishment should probably fall on the player or the team that is deliberately giving the kill to the other team. If it was coordinated prior by both teams, Spiker was like, yeah, end game, third rotating zone, I'm gonna be based up in metal, come fight. Like, that clearly didn't happen. If it happened on spawn, you'd be a lot more suspicious. But I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to clear it up, not to start a witch hunt, not to start sending a whole bunch of hate, but to clear up a situation that I think a lot of people are talking about but didn't get the full story on. Now, moving on to NA East, where there was no dramas, there was no issues, just a phenomenal FNCS finals. One of the best I've ever watched, and so much closer than EU. We had a completely different story. We had none other than TNA Muz, TNA Mero, and Sentinels Bugha winning it all on NA East, 341 points. And what a storyline. I mean, Muz going over from OCE to NA East last season, struggling. A lot of people doubting them. A lot of people realizing after watching Muz's streams and Cash Cups thinking, this guy's pretty insane. This guy definitely could place. And a lot of people saying that Muz should try to find a different team, find players that match his skill who are trying to grind the game right now. Muz was hesitant to do so, didn't want to leave his friend Speedy, who he's been playing with for seasons, didn't want to leave Luda high and dry. They said it was all good, mate, take the opportunity, and then they win FNCS, making Muz the 3 times FNCS champ and the first person to ever get an FNCS win on multiple regions. We had Miro getting his 3 times FNCS title, and Bugha, the World Cup champion, getting his first ever FNCS win. This was ridiculous. Now,
Fuck yeah.
Wait, you
Us
sure, bro?
died early. I think we won.
No way. Wait, I'm checking. Chill.
Hold on.
Shut up.
Bro, Jamper got 30 points. Osp, Brady died early. They didn't beat us, Osp. Bro, if Jamper got 30 points...
Oh my god, we won! Let's go!
I swear to God, hold on.
I swear to God, we won.
refresh it.
No, I swear to God. Let's f***ing go, boys!
Show me the leaderboard.
Let's go! Oh my god.
Wait, did we
Yeah,
actually?
we actually won, yes, by 7 points, bro.
Oh, God.
Go!
Good job, bro.
Let's go, bro!
Oh my God, I don't even feel like happy because I just sold, bro. No f***ing way, man.
Go, bro!
Oh my god. Holy fuck.
You got it?
Bro,
Let's go! Let's go!
The most crazy thing was when I talked to Muz after the games and you look at their tweets, all these guys saying the same thing. We hadn't practiced at all. We didn't really even have a plan. We just went in having fun, and it was some of the most fun we've ever had playing Fortnite, which is just insane that you can be that good. The three of them can just get together and have fun. Like Muz said, he's never ever played the support role whatsoever. He's always used to being fragger, so he's trying to figure out how to help out Mero and help out Bugha and play in between. We have Bugha IGLing, which he doesn't normally like to do, despite the fact that from watching the games today, Bugha is a phenomenal IGL. They dropped off the pace in the last 3 games, and I know Bugha tweeted out how he felt like that was his fault and he made some bad calls. And the last game they did struggle with Surge, which, you know, usually is an IGL's job. But honestly, I think Bugha did such a good job this weekend. But like I said, they dropped off the pace in the last 3 games. This is by no means a easy win. It came down to the very last game. Jampa, Day, and Tragics getting a 3 elim third in their last game of the day. If they had managed to pick up 4 more elims or gotten a few more placements, they would have beaten them. They only won by 7 points. Each elim is worth 2. That is 4 elims. When you got a team with Day, Tragics, and Jampa, 4 elims is not hard to get at all. But Muz's team managed to hold on. Their last game, like I said, they went down in 22nd. They went down to Surge. Mero went down in a fight fighting for Surge, and then Bugha and Muz managed to clutch up, disengage, go get the reboot, and because of that, the extra placements and the extra elims they got was the difference between them winning or not. If they went down when Mero did, that is it. They would have been the FNCS runner-up. So huge congrats to them. Such a good storyline. Obviously, I've been rooting for Muz for a very long time now, so personally, this is a big proud moment for me. OCE proving they can do it internationally as well. There was just so many storylines in this. Obviously, we had Aussie, Visuals, and Frist, who are actually doing really well in first place going into day 2. Unfortunately, I did call it right yesterday in my video. I said that Muz's team just had a more consistent playstyle. They were playing that mid and low ground a lot better. They weren't having those big pop-off games, but they were just playing a lot more tight. They were just had everything under control in a lot better of a way. Aussie, Visuals, and Frist were beating them on the back of really big pop-off games, and in finals, that's very scary to try to replicate. And unfortunately, day 2, the nerves must have set in because Aussie, Visuals, and Frist did fall off the pace. They got a 9 elim win, but they had a 21st place 0 elim. They had a 2 elim 16th. This unfortunately having some issues, but still a podium finish, a top 3 from a team that I don't think was on anyone's radar. Huge congratulations to them. They only went down to 2 of the best teams in the world. They played so incredibly well. We also had Commandment, Stretch, and Centered bringing it back, getting a 4th place when they were way down the leaderboard coming into day 2, so big performance from them. We also had Nani, Quanti, and Dusky. Remember, Nani's team weren't able to play the heats because they had a power outage. They played the reboot round, qualified through reboots, and then got a top 5 in the finals, so they've got to be stoked with that one. Cease Cold and Elite unfortunately being contested at the end of day 1 and into day 2 at Coral Castle really affected them. They dropped out of that top 3 spot down into 6th. Still a good performance, but Cease even tweeting out he was a little bit disappointed. But overall, I think a lot of people were surprised to see Cease up there. He's been quiet in quite a few tournaments for a while now, and still a huge performance from them. We had a Vives team in 7th, Threads, Edgy, and Rise unfortunately dropping down into 8th, which is unfortunate to see for a team with a lot of hopes on them. Degen, Ages, and Kanata in 9th, holding on to that top 10 spot, jumping up with a good game day 2, but again, they just didn't have it. Unfortunately, they didn't have a drop spot. They didn't really have their rotations figured out because of the scuff drop spot. It all went against them. We had Knight, Rogue Shark, and Clarity getting our last spot in top 10. Bucky, Peterbot, and Macwood falling off the pace as well. Our reigning FNCS champs in 12. It was a good leaderboard right down the board. We had Clicks, unfortunately, after having that really good day 1, or questionable day 1 into a good game at the end of day 1, I should say. Unfortunately, day 2, the momentum didn't carry over, but a lot of it due to Clicks. He crashed twice. His internet went out twice. He got kicked from the game 2 out of 6, so they were only playing with 4 potential games, really, really hurting this team's chance of success, unfortunately. A storyline that I wanted to focus on, at the start of day 2, we had Oliver OG and Okus and Chimp. I think they got less than 20 points in day 1, and in their first 2 games of day 2, 2, they had over 100 points. They really, really brought it back, switched up their drop spot, went to Shark, and even though they finished in 21st, I wanted to highlight that as a really big turnaround for a team that wasn't doing too well, finding a new drop spot, finding a new plan, and making it work and not giving up. So there's obviously a lot of teams I could talk about on the leaderboard, but I don't want to go into depth on everything, but NA East finals were insane. The action didn't end after NA East. I know the meme usually is, why would you watch NA West? You're just watching to see how much Arkham, Epikwhale, and Rex win by. Well, the dynasty has finally fallen. The Kings have been dethroned, and Reet, Fabs, and Snacky now sit upon their throne. They got 416 points, coming first place, being the first team ever on NA West to beat Arkham, Rex, and Epikwhale in trios. Now remember, since we've had trio FNCS come back in the last 4 FNCSs, we've had Epikwhale's team win every single one in a row. Reet now, I made this tweet. Reet told me at the start of the season, I talked about it in a video earlier, that if Reet was able to disband with Chris and he could play with Fabs and Snacky, he told me he would win FNCS and he would be the team to finally beat Epikwhale, Arkham, and Rex. And he did just that by 15 points. They played 12 matches, got 2 wins, had an average elims of 7th and an average placement of 7th. But it was their last few games, their second last game being a 3 elim 16th and a 6 elim 10th, that almost lost them this. Look at their placements before that. 6th, 17th, unfortunately. 1st, 2nd, 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 24th, 2nd, 1st, 2nd. Until those last 2 games, they were on such a dominant run. But when you have Arkham, Rex, and Epikwhale on your heels chasing you, it is hard not to lose pace. It is hard not to get scared. It's the session leaderboard that really tells the story the best, because we had Reet, Fabs, and Snacky going into day 2 with a huge lead, especially over Arkham's team that wasn't even in 2nd or 3rd. They were in 4th. But on day 2, Arkham's team got 253 points, whereas Reet's team got 186. Arkham's team wasn't able to win a single game in day 1. They managed to win half their games on day 2, getting 3 victory hours, an average placement of 2.33, while maintaining over 7 average elims a game. They really picked up the pace, and a lot of people saying that if Epikwhale, Arkham, and Rex started day 1 like they finished day 2, they would have won the tournament. And statistically, that's easy to say, but there is something about Epikwhale's team that always makes them perform the best on day 2. Remember, the last 2 FNCSs, they managed to get 2 victory hours in their last 2 games, not last season, the season before, and then last season they got a victory hour and a 2nd place in their last 2 games. This team finishes strong, and because of that, they really had Reet's team nervous, and you could see the nerves because they were making a lot of mistakes in their last 2 games they don't normally make. They almost lost it, but they managed to pull through. They played phenomenally. Super proud of them. Really impressed with their play style. It really was just Arkham and Reet's team running high ground on West. That was it. If one of them was on high ground, if it wasn't one, it was the other. The other team had to play the mid game, and Reet, Fabs, and Snacky proved that they were the team to finally beat out Epikwhale. Again, huge performance by Wavy Jacob. I want to focus on that as well. Despite the fact they were a bit down the leaderboard, about 70 points behind 2nd, still a huge performance on 325 from a team and a few players that have gone quiet for a while now. So big props to Wavy Jacob. We had Jagveer, Bumboy, and Batman Bugha get 4th, and Batman Bugha especially has now gone from, I think it was like $800 earned at the start of the season to now like almost 20,000. Like, my man is definitely coming out of nowhere, and that's not a fake name. If you haven't heard, this is Batman Bugha. That is his actual branding. We had Poppy's team in 5th, J-Rose in 6th. We then had Yelty in 7th, the Hispanics coming through big. We had Mitty in 8th. We then had Yumi in 9th, and we had Trix's team in 10th. But NA West and NA East combined were 2 of the best FNCS finals I've ever watched. Just insane gameplay. 2 teams battling it out, going at it right to the very end. Also, you guys have probably seen the insane team splitting going on the timeline right now. I know it's crazy. We have some of the biggest teams in the world right now splitting, reforming, making the craziest teams. I will talk about all of that in a video tomorrow. I was going to maybe include it today, but you probably noticed today's video is a little bit short. My voice is a little bit funny. I'm actually really struggling. I just pretty much spent 3 days doing like 12-hour streams every day, casting all the games. I'm literally, like, I can feel my voice splitting. So I'm sorry that today's video is a bit short, especially for a grand finals video, but tomorrow, I promise you that video is going to be a stacker. There is so many big teams that have just formed, and I want to include all of them, but I just can't do it. I need to rest, and I want to do that video justice. Don't forget, if you're wondering why all those teams are swapping, we have Grand Royale in 2 weeks, which is going to be even bigger than this FNCS, a $5 million prize pool. So I'm going to have a whole bunch of videos coming out preparing for that. We still have cash cups on. Competitive isn't over just because FNCS is over this season. This isn't like any other season. Competitive has just started for the season. So make sure you guys subscribe. Stay tuned. I'm going to have way more videos coming out. But if you like today's video, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comments section down below your thoughts on anything I talked about today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.